Hi there everybody, I hope you're doing well and your studies are going smoothly. It's time for some more biopsychology revision, and today we're going to be looking at the endocrine or endocrine system and the fight or flight response. Okay, so here are some exam style questions. If you're in a position to do so, please do try to pause the video and give yourself some time and space to actually have a go at recalling here. Bit of exam practice and all that, and come back and play the video again when you are ready for me to talk through. Okay, so you're back with me. Right, so the command word here is give for the first one, so you just need to state or just tell me examples of hormones to be aware of. You're probably going for something like adrenaline, testosterone, estrogen, yeah, some of the well-known ones. Don't need to explain them, just 2 marks. Similar for the second one, the command word here is identify, so you don't need to explain anything. 3 physiological changes in the fight or flight response. It's going to be things like your pupils become dilated, your heart rate increases, your breathing increases, we might see sweating, we might see inhibition of digestion, any of those. Okay, identify again here, some nice quick and easy ones. And we want one gland this time, and then briefly explain its role. So 1 mark for telling me something like the adrenal glands, and you could give me the adrenal medulla or the adrenal cortex if you wanted to, but the adrenal glands would be fine. You could give me the pituitary gland, you could give me the pineal gland from biological rhythms and sleep. What else could you give me? You could give me the testes, ovaries, yeah, loads of different things. So let's go with the pituitary gland. So that's 1 mark, and then 1 mark for saying something like the pituitary gland is the master gland that secretes hormones to coordinate the activity of other glands. Right, we want to identify a hormone for the next one, and 1 mark for explaining its role. So perhaps adrenaline. Its role is in the fight or flight response. It prepares the body, for example, by increasing heart rate. Done. It's only 1 mark for explaining. 3 marks for the function of the endocrine system. Generally, the endocrine system's role is to secrete hormones from glands into the bloodstream in order to coordinate biological activity. You could give an example here to elaborate. For example, one gland in the endocrine system is the adrenal glands, and their role is to secrete adrenaline to help the body prepare for fight or flight, for example, by increasing the heart rate and breathing rate. Yeah, that's fine. But generally, as I said, the function is to coordinate biological activity by secreting hormones into the bloodstream. Outline for 4 marks, the fight or flight response. Well, initially when the body has perceived a stressor, the hypothalamus will activate the autonomic nervous system, and it'll do this by sending a signal to the pituitary gland, that master gland, remember, which will send signaling hormones to the adrenal medulla. The adrenal medulla releases adrenaline into the bloodstream, and this hormone travels to target cells around the body, which produces effects such as increased heart rate and increased breathing rate. I'm not going to go any further, it's only 4 marks, it could be a 6 marker, in which case you could give some more of the effects. You could talk about how after the stressor has passed, the parasympathetic system will kick in, but for 4 marks, I don't feel like I need to go any further there. Okay, we've got an application question now. So just having a quick look at this, we've got perhaps 2 knowledge marks and 2 application marks. And we want the endocrine system. We looked at, in the nervous system video, we looked at this scenario in the context of what the brain was doing and what the peripheral nervous system was doing. Here we want to tap in probably to the fight or flight response. So have a look at the scenario, and we're seeing that Jack can feel his heart racing, his breathing becoming shallow. That says to me he's in fight or flight. So the role of the endocrine system is to, as we said earlier, coordinate biological activity by secreting hormones into the bloodstream from glands. So your knowledge is already there, we've done that one. And we need to link it into the scenario. So, for example, Jack can feel his heart racing and his breathing becoming shallow, which implies that he is in his fight or flight response. So in Jack's body, his adrenal glands will have released adrenaline, and they've travelled to, for example, his heart and lungs to enact the changes we've seen there. Okay, now we want to distinguish basically between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems. And I touched on this a minute ago, but let's break it down and do 2 marks of knowledge of each. But because it says distinguish, we need to have some kind of comparative language there in the middle, like whereas and however, stuff like that. So, the sympathetic system, remember here it's the actions as opposed to their kind of general role or kind of structure. So it's what they're doing. So the sympathetic system in the fight or flight response will bring about changes to help the body in fight or flight. For example, increasing heart rate, increasing breathing rate, inhibiting digestion, dilating pupils, to allow the body to deal with the stressor. Whereas the parasympathetic system will kick in once the stressor has passed and will reverse the changes that the sympathetic system has brought on. So it will restore heart rate to normal. It will reduce breathing rates to normal levels. It will restart digestion. It will allow the pupils to relax or constrict, in contrast to what we saw the sympathetic system do. Final question, we've got a 6-mark application question on the role of adrenaline. Okay, so we've got a bit of a hairy situation here involving a deer. And we can see if we break down the scenario. To start with, we're very much in that fight or flight. Heart hammering, mouth go dry. And then we swerve around it. We nearly lose grip on the wheel, perhaps our hands are a bit sweaty there. And then we start to feel more normal. So that's the parasympathetic bit afterwards. So I'd be breaking this down in terms of maybe roughly half the response talking about the sympathetic system and half the response talking about the parasympathetic. But we need to be talking about kind of what adrenaline is and where it comes from. So the role of adrenaline is to be secreted from the adrenal glands, the adrenal medulla, in response to a stressor. For example, the deer. And it travels to target cells around the body to produce or to enact physiological changes that help the body to deal with the stressor. So, in the scenario, adrenaline has travelled to the heart and increased the heart rate so that we can get blood and oxygen around the body. It has inhibited digestion, which is the reason that the mouth has gone dry, because we don't need saliva, we don't need to be ready to eat or digest a meal at the moment. We need to be dealing with the deer. And we've got some sweating, which is why we potentially lose grip on the steering wheel, because our hands are slippery. Once the stressor has passed, so a couple of minutes later, we start to feel more normal. Now that's because the stressor has passed, the parasympathetic system is now kicking in, so our heart rate is going to restore to normal levels. Our hands are hopefully going to be able to grip the wheel a little bit better because sweating has returned to normal, and our mouth will feel less dry because the digestive system is kicking back in. Okay, there you go. Okay, take a moment to reflect at this point. How did that go for you, whatever you tried? Is there anything that you need to do as a result of that practice? Are you done with that topic? If so, well done you. Move on and do something else. Okay? There we go. I hope that was useful, guys. Thank you very much. I will see you in another video. Please do feel free to ask a question in the comments. Keep going. Good luck with it all. Bish bash bosh.